Hi folks, thanks for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. Your support is very much appreciated. So this week, what you see in the vise is a small shrimp pattern. It was never supposed to be a video, but I posted a photograph on Facebook and people want to see how it's tied. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the vise then is a Hanak H300 barbless hook. As you can see, this one's at size 12 and it's in black nickel. It's on a medium wire, and the thread I'm going to be using today is the UTC. You can't see the label for my bobbin holder here, but it's UTC at 140 denier and it's black. So first thing I want to do is get plenty of wax onto my thread. Now, I'm going to just put the bobbin down because the first thing I want to do is add some weight to this hook, and I'm going to use some adhesive lead foil, and I did have some out to show you. Basically, the adhesive lead foil comes in sheets like this. As you can see, it's got a plastic back, and if you've got a pair of old fly tying scissors, I always put these to the side for this very purpose. Don't use your good tying scissors on lead foil. It won't end well for you. Okay, so I've already cut my strip and I've already removed the backing. And I really like the old sticky back stuff. So I'm going to catch it with my nail quite far down the hook initially, and then wind it up. And what I like about it is it just sits in place. It's a little bit more expensive than just your normal lead, but I think it's worth it. Just a bit more pleasurable to work with. So I've got my first layer down. I'm going to start up about 1/8 of an inch to where I started the last one. And with all my shrimps, I really like them to have a slim profile, because I think the profile is important when you're fishing with it. It cuts through the water much quicker and gets to the depth it needs to be. Just last bit of turn. Now, sorry for taking the time, but there's a couple of bits and bobs I want to point out to you. So the bulk of this weight is towards the rear of the hook, and the reason for that is when I'm fishing this, I generally fish it on a French leader. I want this to drop that way down. It's something I picked up from a Czech nymph book actually I read some time ago, and it was how Yuri Klimmer places his weights on the hook towards the rear, and it's always stuck with me, that lesson. So I'll take my wax thread now, start in at the eye, and then I'm wanting to get a good bit of coverage. And when you're coming over this lead foil, just do it gently initially. You don't want to pop it out all over the place. And then I'm going to come back up to the top, remove my rat's tail. Now, I've not quite got it how I like it, but it's getting there. So next, I'm going to add in the pink that you see underneath. And what is this? So, last week I showed you the duo fly and I used this to create a loop. So this week, rather than throw the pink out, I've decided to use that for the under rib of this fly. Now, this style of fly was inspired, for me anyway, it's probably nothing new, but for me, Andy Saunders, who has a YouTube channel, I'll stick a little link up there in the bar if you've not seen his channel. You can check it out. He ties some fantastic flies. I've seen him tie very similar sort of stuff. He's a massive fan of the infected shrimp and whatnot. I'm not as big a fan of shrimps, shall we say, but I do have there is a place for them in my box. Next, I'm going to take some fluorocarbon. This is Hanak. It's 0.10, very thin. It doesn't have to be Hanak. It can be whichever clear monofilament you'd like to use. but I'm going to catch that in at the same time, and just going to use my thread to get them both down the shank of the hook. And I'm running the whole shank because I want to keep it nice and even, nice and slim profile, really tight, and that's looking pretty good. Okay, I'm going to come back to about midway on the fly body, and I'm going to grab my Shellback. This is Fine Flex from Troutline, 4mm, and this is the brown. I'm just going to cut a little V in it here where I can catch it on with my thread, like so. Now as I start to get purchase, I can really pull on this now. And that's all sitting pretty good. So I've got my 3 bits of material that I need for this. Now for the body, I have used some trout stalkers. This is the Boosted Natural. It's probably by far my favourite dubbing. I use it in a lot of my flies, but I don't want the scruffy properties this time. So what I'm going to do is really dub it down hard on the thread. So usually a nice loose dub is what you want, but I like to really clamp down on this, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on it. I'm going to push that up to dress it to the fly, because as I said, I want to keep a really slim profile. Now, I've been reading quite a lot of books of late, and there'll be some reviews on the latest one coming soon, but it did reinforce a few lessons to me about the profile of flies and how and why they need to be a certain way. And for my shrimps, it certainly reinforced. Oops, I've just run out of dubbing there. Back to the packet. Just need a bit more. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. It reinforces the fact that it needs to be a nice slim profile in order to cut through the layers. I don't know where that pink bit's come from, probably from something else. And then I'm going to just finish that off in front of my dubbing. So that's about as tight as I can get the scruffy dubbing. And next I'm going to grab the pink indicator material. Now you could probably get wire that will do a similar job, but I couldn't find any that was thick enough to stand out, so I'm using this pink indicator material. And what this does is just add a little bit of underbody to the fly, but not only that, it's keeping the whole thing nice and tight, which is what I'm looking to achieve with this pattern. All the way up, and it's actually trapping in some of the loose scruffy dubbing that's scruffed its way out, shall we say. So I've trapped that in with a few turns, a couple of turns in front, and then I can remove that. I'm not going to waste it. I've got enough for doing a dual fly, or I've got enough to do another shrimp. So just put that to the side. Now before I bring my Shellback over, I'm going to add a bit of wax to my thread because I want that to hold into place, and then I'm going to bring it over and try and make sure it comes right up the centre of the fly. Just a wee bit too much pressure on my part there, pulled away. And then once I've got that in place, I'm going to get a loose turn. It's just misbehaving, and I know why. It's because I've not got my body. When I put my lead foil on, it wasn't quite right. It wasn't in the right position, and instead of taking it off and starting again, I decided to press on, and I'm paying the price. So I'll get a couple of turns to hold that into place. Then I'm going to bring it back for a few turns, and then I'll stretch out the shellback and remove it. Okay, now before I go on, I want to just have a look at your side. It's not too bad. Could have been worse is what I'd say. Alright for government work, as they say. So I'm just going to get another few turns and thread in, which is fine. Then with my clear fluorocarbon, in my case, if you're using mono, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. And I'm going to come in the opposite direction that the pink came, he says. And this is only to create really that segmented look in the shellback. Gives it that shrimpy look to it. It's been a bit of a wonder fly for me, this, actually. I didn't think it would be, I thought it would work, but I didn't think it would be as good as it has been. So, you know, it's always good to look at other people's work and then just adapt it to your own needs. It can make a world of difference. So, cheers Andy for the idea, and I hope I've done it justice. Just slick everything back out the way, and what I want to do is increase the size of the head here. And it's a big black head, so just build that up. And then to finish off, simply whip finish. And then you can take the thread away. And you can use varnish, super glue. I'm going to use some UV resin, my preferred poison, for finishing flies. I know it's quite difficult to get hold of this Solaris bone dry now, so I'm pretty dreading when I run out, because it's been really good. I've been using it all the time I've been doing the videos, and it's still going pretty good. Now you can give this a couple of coats if you want. I'm just going to give it the one for the purpose of the video. And there you go. So that pink kind of does sit out about. Now what I haven't done, and what I like to do, is come in with a pair of flat pliers, which I can't find for the life of me. And I just like to squeeze the lead so that the profile's even slimmer. So when it hits the water, it drops down to the depth real quick. But there we go. Job's a good one. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Please don't forget to click that subscribe button.